Hi, and welcome to the I Am Perfectly Frank podcast. I am Frankie George McCullough, and the topics we have in these podcasts are intuition, self fulfillment, and trusting yourself. You'll see that I will be perfectly frank, and please subscribe to this podcast on your favorite platform. Hello, and welcome to the I Am Perfectly Frank podcast. Today, I have with me someone I was privileged to be the coach for and who has been coaching for many years and has chosen to start working with I Am Perfectly Frank as one of our coaches. Today, I'd like to introduce you to Tina Stonisch. Tina, how are you today?
Hi, good, Francis. Happy to be here.
Thank you. So, Tina, would you tell us a little bit about yourself, like, your a little bit of your life story, and then what led you to seeing me, and then what inspired you to decide this is what I want to do with my life?
So, I am a registered nurse. I am trained as an ICU nurse, and I worked for many years in the surgical ICU, taking care of people. And when you're at the bedside taking care of patients who are on ventilators and very ill, you're often taking care of the families that sit beside them all day long, talking to them. And so in some ways the coaching I think maybe started then. Um, and I eventually got married and stayed home with my three children. I've been through a lot in my life and have always sought traditional therapy. And I got to a place where that just wasn't working for me anymore. And somebody put me in touch with you, Francis, which was the biggest blessing of my life. Um, I think coaching is far better than therapy. It was for me. And so I had such a great experience with you. I really have grown so much in the year and a half that have been coaching with you. And now you are mentoring me to be a coach, and I'm loving it. And I look forward to touching lives like you have.
So, in our communication, I'd like to just back up a little bit more about you, if I may. My Often in our conversations, we would talk about how you just naturally would help your friends. You would give them insight. You would give them thoughts that would move them. And you spoke of how much this was you. That's just who I am.
Yes.
It's just what I do. So, do you feel coaching is a natural thing for you?
Yes, I do. I feel like I'm always that person that my friends wanted my perspective on. I feel like even strangers would often say to me, or somebody I met for the first time would say to me, I mean, many times in my life, I've never told this to anybody before, but for some reason I feel comfortable telling you. And I think I've been through enough in my life where nothing surprises me and I don't come with a lot of judgments or any ego. So that makes coaching somebody easy, whether it's a friendship or your children. Even my ex-husband would often say to me, "You have a gift and you should do this for a living." I mean, and that's a big compliment coming from him.
Well, it's also great when people see you doing what you love. And I'm a big supporter of if you're living it, you know it.
Right.
And it sounded even when you first started to see me as your coach that you were living it already. Because often we spoke about how you were inspirational and motivational to people, not just people, friends, but sometimes strangers, and how great that felt for you. So you've already been coaching for quite a while, and now you're just taking it into a business form.
Yes, yes.
I would also like to back up, if I may, just for the sake of full disclosure, that therapy is not a bad thing. It can be useful to a point.
Oh, 100%.
And therapy, yes, and therapy can also turn into coaching. if you have a therapist that understands the difference between therapy and coaching. Like, we don't have to search back to why. What we want to do is move you in the now, right?
Yes.
And just for full disclosure, because I don't want people to turn away from therapy or to choose one necessarily over the other. Sometimes simultaneously they work great. Sometimes independently they work great. Sometimes therapy is a value before you get into coaching. And I'm going to say this as I say it often: you don't need either one. The reason people choose either therapy or coaching is because they have decided they don't like the way life is working for them, and they want to understand if there's a different way. And all we do, you and I, as coaches, is show people a different way. So as I make that statement, do you find that to have been true in your experience with me?
Yes. I think I have been through therapy through a number of difficult times in my life. And I think therapy helped me tremendously. But I think there comes a point where you're no longer dissecting what has happened in your past and you know why it's happened. And it's time, honestly, to just find a path forward. And that's how I see coaching can be so beneficial. I think that sometimes you can spend years in therapy dissecting the past, and sometimes you're never going to get answers. So you have to pick yourself up and find a way forward. And to me, coaching is more about that path. It's about creating a space where you are no longer looking behind you and trying to dissect your past and go over it and over it and over it. And you're really creating a new path and a new narrative and new energy. And to me, that's what coaching is.
So I remember with you specifically, if I may, that we discussed often something, and you felt if it was, is it wrong or right, and I would say to you, why does it have to be either? Why can't it just be an experience? And I would observe in your face, oh, that's interesting, I never thought of that, sticking with the facts. I think sometimes people are finally ready for that.
Yes.
Were you ready?
Yes,
Yeah.
I was ready. I felt like
Mm-hmm.
this was my only option at this point. And I felt like I've got to try this. And I think people are afraid to try coaching because the word therapy is not in it. And coaching is it's a newer phenomenon, maybe. Um, but I wish that people could just get on board or just try even one session because it's so different.
I think coaching first became available more for people in the world of business. I think, in my observation of time, my first people that I coached were stuck in a space in business. Like, I want this deal to happen, but I want it to be win-win, but I want to have more than them, kind of thing.
Right.
And I think when you realize that what you want is not that thing, but that place of feeling good about the way you're doing what you're doing, then people can identify that coaching has value in every arena. This place called life is not easy. Today I find life, it's never been easy, but I can find joy in even the stuff that's difficult. Just today I was explaining to someone that these difficult times that we go through, these times that are struggles, and these times that are, I'm struggling through a divorce, right? You're a great divorce coach, and you're great at recovery from divorce as well. And you're also great on how to move into that financial space for yourself and how not to be afraid. At least that has been my experience with you and your coaching. And with my coaching, I find that I want to help people understand that they've been looking at life in a particular way. And my intention is to give them a thought that might help them see life maybe not so much that way. So just today, and I'm sure you've heard me say this, Tina, and I'm sure many people that might be listening to this podcast may have also heard this, but it's very much life. Life itself is very much like climbing Mount Everest or any very arduous mountain. Arduous, difficult. I have to take this step. Oh my God, I can't move anymore. Oh, I better chill out right now. I'm afraid. Oh my gosh, I'm afraid. What if I fall? Oh, I better hold on tight. I'm so tired. I can't do this anymore. All of those feelings come up in our life. But on Mount Everest, you have to, like, it's either do or die.
Exactly. Well, that's life in general. I mean, you
Uh,
can lay down and give up, or you keep going. And I have found even the most difficult situations, it does get better if you just keep going.
right, right. And if you let yourself go through those difficult times, and I don't know that you've heard me say this on podcasts, but pretty much every podcast, I say we need each other.
Oh, you say that all the
We,
time. Yeah, not just on your podcast. Yeah.
so could I be a bit inquisitive and ask you where you were a year and a half, mostly compared to where you are now? Can you give a description of that?
Yeah, a year and a half ago when I met you, I was really struggling. I felt like I was in a hole, a very dark hole. And it doesn't mean that I couldn't function in the world and put a smile on my face, and find joy in some things, but I was not at a place. I was sitting in a familiar place, right? So you talk about climbing Mount Everest, and I felt like I was standing on the edge of a cliff, wanting to take the leap and just couldn't do it, right? Because it's so scary. And that coaching, when I came to you a year and a half ago, that was really me taking that leap and facing a lot of things that were just familiar to me and easy to stay in because they were familiar, even though they were negative and not making me happy. So, gosh, Francis, remember how much I used to cry and cry and cry? And when's the last time I cried in your office?
Long
It's been a
time,
long time.
long time. And would you please explain, like, the steps you take? You were going through some very difficult times. You had to make some physical changes. You had some major loss in your life from people leaving this earth, as well as people stepping out of your life,
Mhm.
and then people being vindictive, even, and angry, very angry, and it affected your children.
Yes.
Can you tell us about that? And then once the flip started to happen for you and where you are now?
I mean, do you want specifically what?
Whatever you feel good with. It doesn't have to be specific. Just to, I think people want to understand what is the path of coaching. Like, you start here and they're like, oh man, I can't do life. And um, my experience with you has been more supportive, like letting you know who you are and what you do is okay, giving you the allowance in your space, letting you know that there's no wrong and right
Right.
way.
I think that's one of the biggest things, Francis, because as much as I was feeling in a hole, I always knew that I liked myself, that I had not let myself down, that I was still who I was when I looked in the mirror. But when you go through lots of loss, I had lost my sister, my baby sister, and I was going through a divorce with a very unfaithful husband for a long time who is not good to my kids. So I really take care of my children alone, and it's a lot. I have two boys and a girl, and I'm trying to show my boys what a man looks like, and I'm trying to show my daughter what a man looks like, and that's hard because I'm not one. Um, I think coaching really helped me get out of my own way. I think it allowed me to tap into all the things I really do like about myself, all of my gifts, and the things that I maybe think are wrong about myself really aren't so wrong. I'm really just human. just trying to make it in this world, and realizing that the ridiculous things I do really aren't that ridiculous, that they're just okay. And that, you know what, we're all ridiculous. And if we aren't ridiculous sometimes, well, then that's ridiculous. Right?
I love that.
I feel like coaching literally gave me my voice back. It allowed me to step outside the familiar and then step back in sometimes and still be okay with it. Because I'm not a perfect, you know, we're not all always coachable, like you say. I'm not a perfect client, patient. It just, that's the way the world works, right? I think my kids even saw a big difference in me when I started coaching, when you started coaching me. Just really accepting that we are human, that we do need each other, and that making mistakes is a big part of growth, and that we don't need to beat ourselves up. And also not to have fear in the decisions that we make, even though it's maybe not playing the game correctly, or someone tells you they would never do that. I mean, I've done some things people would say they would never do, and I'm not embarrassed by it.
I do things all the time.
Yes.
People say they would never
Yes.
do. As you know, I have cussed like a truck driver with you repeatedly. I don't think you've ever cussed one time.
I do a little bit. Not much, though.
Thank you for enjoying me as I am in your presence. That's a very nice feeling where you can be who you are in someone's presence.
Yes.
And, you know, I have found, and you can tell me if you've experienced this yourself, in my own life, and even as in coaching, I love coaching. I really do. I love inspiring and motivating, and I'm not right or wrong, and my way might not be the way, which I don't care if it's, I don't think it is the way. I think there's a million different ways. Although I believe, I've bought into this belief system, when something lights you up, you should shine in it.
Yes.
And for me, coaching is not a right and wrong. It's not a my way, your way. It ebbs in and out. I did this. It's neither good or bad. Do you want to do it again? Did you like the way it felt when you did it, or do you want to do something differently? Well, I would like to do something differently, but I don't know what. As coaches, we can give people some ideas. That just means there's there's a million ideas out there. And we can give people some ideas. And you've heard me say this with you. If it resonates with you, go with it. We as coaches, we aren't here to judge you or find fault with you, or even to carry it with us. When we're done coaching, we're done. I'm sure you've done that with your friends. You're like, okay, I'm done now. With a friend, you might call up and say, hey, how you're doing? You know, and if there's something really difficult for a client, both of us would reach out and say, just checking in on you. But mostly we leave it there. We don't carry it with us.
No.
You know, as coaches, we don't carry it and take it out into a weighted thing. Therefore, there's really no judgment on it. It's just that's the way you did it. And I remember saying to you several times, you know, what's wrong with the way you're feeling? You know, if you feel like crap, what's wrong with that? No. I mean, isn't it okay?
And that's something that I think coaching really does. It allows you to feel like it's okay to feel the way you're feeling. Honestly, sometimes in my coaching, there could be one sentence that you said in the hour we were together, and that sentence gave me energy. You know, energy to leave the session and feel energized and motivated. Honestly, sometimes it would just be one sentence. And I always told you how good I felt leaving. I felt very energized every time I left. And I often look forward to my coaching sessions. Like, I really need an hour of coaching, because it's like working out. You get stronger. It's like building a muscle in a way. It really is being coached. And gosh, if I could get coached every day and just walk around with a coach whispering in my ear all day long, I would do that. but we can't do that. So that,
Right, right.
an hour or 2 hours a week, I feel like it's life changing, especially for people who have done the traditional route of therapy and maybe they're still doing it, but need like another perspective, another edge. Um, I think it's enlightening. I think it's thought provoking. I think it builds you up. And, it sometimes just stops you from looking in the rearview mirror because we're not going that way. And that's how I'm living right now. I'm not going that way.
So, yeah, that's great. That's an excellent description because we don't want to go back. We want to go forward in our lives. So I'm going to back up again too because at the time I met you, you were struggling, as you said, with divorce. You were struggling with just society, with the loss of your sister, and you were feeling so very alone.
I was feeling very lost. I mean, I'd been married for 20
Hmm.
years. Um, Losing my sister was very hard for me. She was my best friend. Losing my marriage was very hard for me. I am a very spiritual woman, so thankfully I have God in my life, and that's the one thing, Francis, I think you also gave me. Um, you raised Catholic, but have a very open mind to all spirituality, whatever you want to call it here on earth, and so do I. Um, but you are very knowledgeable about certain stories in the Bible and things like that that are very inspiring, and you know them by heart. And I was always motivated by those, and I liked that
They're fun
as well.
stories. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, yeah,
There, I could tell you that alone I learned those stories as well as my mother would tell me those stories. And so part of it was after my mom, actually, when I was 16, is when I really started to seek the information in these history books, as I would call them, in these Bibles, in these books that, gave this kind of information. The stories are fabulous, and there are many books that are not in the text
right.
of the Bible. And so to read outside of that, to read about the Dead Sea Scrolls, to read about the Gnostic Bibles, or to read about the Muslim faith or the Jewish faith, or to read about Hinduism and Buddhism and even American Indian culture and how they really honored Mother Earth, as this space. They're all relative, all of them. They all have a beautiful connection. And it's very nice. And when we can get, I have found in a lot of my coaching, people get so stuck in their religion and they know something isn't right for them. You don't have to walk away from your religion.
No.
You can be okay with still having that religion and going, okay, yeah, this part of it doesn't work for me and it's okay. There's no rule breaking, right? There's just, this is the way I think. This is the way that it works for me. This is holding me back. By seeing it this way, I can move more forward in it. So yeah, I love those books. I love the study of that stuff. I have to tell you, I don't know if any of it's true. I don't really care. I believe in a source greater than me
Yes,
that I call source energy
yes,
God.
yes,
I believe those stories did happen. I believe that I think everything we do, me and you and every other human being and every plant and every bug and every animal is source energy. It's all that. So, but that's me. I don't want to impose my belief on somebody else. I think people should be privileged to believe however they darn well please, and especially if it moves them. Now, here's an amazing sponsor, Veterans Van Lines Moving Service, helping veterans get into the moving business. 248-889-8888, veteransvanlines.com. They'll show you how to get it done. Did you know that Align Salon Group is hiring stylists in Michigan? Candidates can receive up to $800 a year as part of their student loan repayment program. For more information, go to alignsalongroup.com. That's ALLINE salongroup.com. Is there any other insight you might be able to give on you being a coach, on what you want to accomplish with coaching?
I think that my main accomplishment with coaching would be to really help both men and women who have lost loved ones, and not just through death, but spouses, friendship. I think that I can be a way forward for a lot of people. And I think I have a great story to tell. And I think people can be really inspired by that. There was a time I thought to myself, I do not want the sun to come up tomorrow. Not that I didn't want to live, but there comes some moments in your life where you just don't want to feel that bad anymore. And I can honestly say that coaching really pulled me out of that feeling.
That's
And
great. So are you telling me that?
I've had to
Go
coach
ahead.
myself too, because I'm not with you all the time, Frances, but I've learned to truly coach myself sometimes.
Yay! That's how you do
Say
it.
things out loud to me like, this is completely fine, Tina. You're going to do this because you want to, and you don't have to answer to anybody. I think I really want to help people take the leap. Again, you stand on the high dive and you really want to jump, but it's so scary. Well, it's far scarier to stand there looking down than to actually jump. And then you jump, and then you're like, oh, that wasn't so bad. That's what I really want to help people do, and realize that there is life on the other side. But it's a lot of how you talk to yourself, how you treat yourself, and how you accept yourself. And I've learned
I
all of
love
those
that.
things.
That's fabulous. I think that is, I think we're going to use all those taglines.
Okay. What did I just say?
The most important thing, in which I believe is both of ours, and even Fatin, who is one of our coaches, I think our ultimate goal is to have you be your own coach. That doesn't mean you don't need other people. It just means that when you don't have them, your mind chatter is something that moves you. It's something that inspires you. It's something that takes you out of the dark box and moves you into the light. And that's a major accomplishment for any of us, to have that chatter, but yet the chatter inspires us. There's nothing greater than to be your own coach. And in that space, in my observation in life, by doing that, whether you like it or not, anyone that's around you, that's near you, that knows somebody that knows you, you affect them. It's like throwing a stone in the water and it ripples out. So when we are okay with ourselves and we can feel that sense of joy in spite of the car accident we just had, right? And go, okay, I had a car accident. That's what happened. Thank God I'm okay. Okay, the car doesn't look good, but right now I'm just going to feel like shit and it's okay. And it didn't destroy my life. It didn't take me down. Okay? And when you change that chatter to, oh my God, look what happened. Oh my gosh, it's going to cost me so much money. This is going to be terrible. When you change your mind chatter to something that is just a matter of fact, you don't have to blame or find fault or be bad or any of that stuff. So I feel grateful that you have found within yourself to inspire you. We will always need people, always, even just to celebrate that moment where, yeah, I was able to talk myself out of it.
Yes.
In my book, The Man He's Stupid and the Girl She's So Bitch, there's a meme at the very beginning, and the meme is a husband coming up to his wife, and he puts his hand on her shoulder, and he goes, "Babe, you okay?" She goes, yeah, I'm fine. I just was thinking so many thoughts that I hurt my own feelings.
Right. Well, we do that all the time. Enough, right?
Right.
And I find myself saying that to myself, Tina, stop it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we do. I've learned that. I've learned how to do that.
Wow, that is so, I'm thrilled. Thank you for letting me be part of that. So guys, just know that Tina and I are both coaching now. We both coach each other. I called Tina the other day because I was in a bad place. And I was like, okay, I don't want to be in this place for more than 10 seconds. Like, you have to pull me out of it. And it's nice to not have to stay in that feeling of, for me, 10 minutes. Like, I'm like, okay, I got to get out of this. But for people that have been there for days and go, oh, whew, thank you for lifting this off of me. We did nothing. We just inspired you to allow it to lift off of you. So at I Am Perfectly Frank, at our website, you can read about myself and Tina and Fatin. You can read about the body work we do. You can read about the coaching. We will have more and more testimonials. We have some great blogs. Please go visit our website, IamPerfectlyFrank.com. If you don't know anything about the book, The Man He's Stupid and the Girl She's So Bitch, the book really is all about self-care. It's about how do I be good to myself so that when I am with other people that want to treat me poorly, I can pay attention and go, yeah, that doesn't feel good. I can't allow you to do that. Not by saying a thing to them, but by walking away, by observing, by watching. You don't have to hurt anybody's feelings. And I know you. When you came in, you were a major people pleaser, right?
Yes.
And you're still...
I still am.
You still are.
Yeah.
The difference is that you don't put yourself aside to please them anymore.
Right.
And you're selective now. Yeah. You go, I'm not sure I want to go there with you.
Right.
Or you do it with them and you go, I'm not doing that again.
Right.
Right. And I think that is our goal, is to help people shine and feel good about themselves and know that in this thing called human being, it's going to ebb in and out. Although you can always stay in the light. You can, even though you're like, oh, yes, I want to just go down. So, Tina, thank you so much for joining me today.
I just want to say one more thing about your book. It's a great communication tool. It's, I think it teaches a lot about communicating, especially between men and women. It's a great communication tool. And often, like you're saying, your title, oh, he's so stupid, or, she acts so bitchy, is basically, but the truth is, that's just miscommunication, because we don't understand where they're coming from. They don't understand where we're coming from. And I think the book is great, really dissecting that.
Thank you. Yes, thank you. Hopefully people will buy. By the way, the audiobook is going to be out in the next 4 to 5 weeks. So we'll start really moving that information for you. So, Tina, thank you so much for joining us today. I look forward to seeing you soon. And everyone, thank you for joining us on the I Am Perfectly Frank podcast. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Hi, guys. Thank you for joining us today on this podcast. By the way, at the I Am Perfectly Frank website, you can find information about all the stuff I've been doing for the last 40 years. We treat pain patterns. We are coaches. We do intuitive work. We also do massage. We also help you understand what your pain is telling you so that you don't have it anymore. Anyways, again, check out the IamPerfectlyFrank.com website, and thank you for joining us today.